Welcome to Live DAF, your online DAF Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's DAF, GITTEN Samach Vav. We are holding at the Mishnah, which is on Samach Yomid Beis, 7 lines from the bottom. It says the Mishnah, Bari Shoina, in the olden days, initially, Hayu Aimrim, the Chachamim would teach us as follows, Hayoitei B'koiler. The authorities are carrying a person out in chains to kill him. And this fellow calls out in this state of frenzy. V'amar, and he says, Kisvu get li ishti. Please write a get for my wife. But he forgets to say anything about delivering the get to his wife. What do? Hare elu yichtavu v'yitnu. They should write and deliver the get. That's what he meant. So although he didn't say it, we attribute it to his lack of mindfulness because of his precarious state. Later on, the Chachamim added more examples. Not only if his life is actually being threatened, but even Afham Farish, a person who is about to embark on a sea journey, and he lacks that mindfulness. Or on the way out to join a caravan on their journey. Here as well, Kisvu is tantamount to Kisvu Utnu. He doesn't have the proper focus. And therefore, when he says kisvu, he really means kisvu utnu. Rabbi Shimon Shizuri Omer, one more example, Afham Sukan, a person who suddenly got sick. And he's fearful for his life. And therefore, this fellow as well, when he says kisvu, he really means prepare it and deliver it. Says the Gemara Gniva. There was a person called Gniva, who we actually learnt about a few days ago. He was a great Talmud Chacham, but a big Baal Machlekes. He picked a fight with Mar Ukva, the Av Bezdin, back on the Av Zayin Amud Aleph, and he suffered as a consequence. Look what happened. Yoitzei b'koilor hava. He was chained and being let out by the authorities. They were going to kill him. Kiyava Kanafik, on his way out, Omar, he declared, Havu arba meyazuzi l'Rabbi Avina. Please give 400 zuz to Rabbi Avina, Meichamra, from the wine that I have in this place, the Nahar Panya. Okay? Amar Rabbi Zera, Rabbi Avina is entitled to the wine. Dora Rabbi Avina l'silte. Rabbi Avina should pack up his basket of food for the road, for the journey, and travel to whom? Va'azal, and travel l'gabe de Rav Huna, Rabbi, to Rav Huna his Rebbe, who will give him the rights to this gift, because he's entitled to receive this gift, even though he didn't make a kinyan. Gniva just promised it to him. He didn't actually make a kinyan. But based on what Rav Huna teaches us elsewhere, we will conclude that, in fact, Rabbi Avina is entitled to receive this gift, because Gniva was in a state of frenzy. He was about to be put to death. He has a din like a shchivmara, similar to a person who is deathly ill, with a chachamim grant him extra powers. Divrei shchivmara, we all know the words of a shchivmara stand. Kiksuvin, musurim damu. It's as though they were formalized in a document. His promises, his gifts, his word is implemented. Okay, where do we have Rav Huna? Damar Rav Huna. Rav Huna tells us, Gito kimatante. We're speaking about a shchibmara, and we equate his get to his matana. In which way? Just like if a shchibmara promises somebody a gift, and he suddenly recovers, Baruch Hashem, he's well and healthy again, he can go back on that gift, because the assumption is he was only giving it thinking that he's passing away. So it's like a conditional gift. Im amad chayzer. Afgita is same with his get. If he gives a get, at that point, we assume it was conditional upon his passing away. Im amad chayzer. Therefore, if he recovers, he can cancel the get. So Rav Huna makes that connection. That the get of a shchibmara is conditional just like his matana is conditional. Continues the Gemara, and likewise, we will now make a reverse correlation as well, a two-way connection. We're going to connect a Shchiv Mara's matana powers to his get powers. Just like concerning his get. Even if he forgot to specify, all he said was kisfu, he didn't actually tell them to deliver it. What do we say? What do we say in our Mishnah? A person who's in a precarious state, in a state of frenzy, given the amar kisfu, as soon as he says kisfu, that's enough for us. That's sufficient. Even without specifying give the get, we still give. We assume that's what he meant. The same thing with his matana. Kivan the amar tnu. As soon as he promises it, even without an actual kinyan, it works. And the point again is because his word stands. The Chachamim were concerned that he shouldn't lose his mind, he shouldn't get over anxious. So a shchivra, and likewise a fellow who's yotzei b'keiler, similar situation, want to keep him calm. And therefore we say, look, your word is gold. And likewise, Geniva, who promised us wine to Rabbi Avina, it's as good as done, even though there was no kinyan. Maskefla Rabbi Abba asks Rabbi Abba, once we're connecting, let's connect all the way. So if we're connecting get to matana, just like the matana is applicable even after a person's death, right? If he promised it, we carry it out even if he passes away. Af get yeshne lachar misa. If so, get as well can work even after his death. So he, tells them to give a get on his behalf, and he passed away in the meantime before they gave it. Do you mean to say we can give it even after his death? We're going to connect it to matana that works lachar misa, likewise get. And of course, that's impossible. Because once he passes away, he can no longer divorce his wife. So basically, what Rabbi Abba is pointing out is that if you're going to connect get to matana all the way, it's an uneven correlation. It's not going to work in all situations. You can't fully connect one to the other. It's clear that matana and get have different guidelines, work on different tracks. Answers the Gemara, no. Hachi hashta. Why would that be a question? Of course you can't connect it in this realm. The concept of matana is applicable even after his death. Right? We carry out his word. We give the matana which he promised during his lifetime. But there's no question that you can't do a get after a person passes away. The concept doesn't exist. So of course you can't compare it regarding this aspect. But in terms of the other halachas, there's a full correlation. It's a fair matchup. For instance, im amad chayzer, right? That it's conditional upon his death. That works by get and by matana. Meaning if he recovers, he can go back on everything. And the second point as well. Just like by get, even though he was just speaking in short form, we carry it out. Likewise by matana, we carry out what he said. So what's the question on Rav Huna? Ella, says the Gemara, rather, Rabbi Abba Kessler. Rabbi meant as follows. The problem is that Geniva didn't give everything away. Matnas shchibra b'miktsasi. Remember, he just gave away, a portion of his wine. And the halacha is, umatnas shchibra b'miktsas b'yikinyan. You see, if a person who's in this state gives everything away, apparently he's given up on life. And he's giving everything away. So therefore we treat it as a matnas shchibra with all its trimmings, with all the halachas associated with that. But if it's a matnas shchibar b'miktsas, person is in a precarious state, but he's careful to give away only, a small portion of his assets. That indicates to us that he's looking after himself as well. He's still protecting his interests. He still plans on living. He's still taking that chance that perhaps he'll need stuff for himself. So that doesn't get the din of a standard classic matna shchimera. We treat it like a regular, ordinary gift given by a healthy person in ordinary situations. And in order to carry it out, you have to make a kinyan. So here as well by Gniva. He didn't give everything away, which would indicate that he's given up on needing anything. He's giving it as a person on his way to Misa. He only gave a small portion of his assets. That's an ordinary, standard gift. And gift giving requires a kinyan. That was Rabbi Abba's kasha. Asks the Gemara. Mechlal de Rav Huna Savar lo boya kinyan. So then the question is, so in fact, how does Rav Huna allow this to go through without a kinyan? Well, and we know this for a fact, the boya kinyan. That in fact, a matna shchimra b'miktsas requires a kinyan. Answers the Gemara, here it's different. Because it was clear to all that Geniva was not expecting to live any longer. He was being taken out in chains. Shani yochad mitzava machmas misahu. Rashi says, right on the right side, that mitzava machmas misahu shayoy yadei. He was fully aware of the fate awaiting him. Shayoytze b'koyla eina chayzer. He's not coming back. So this is an exception. So even though it was a partial gift, he was only giving away some of his assets, but it's clear that it was a complete, full, unequivocal gift, and therefore no kinyan is required. Asks the Gemara, so apparently Rabbi Abba, who questioned this halacha, holds that even a person in this state, when he knows he's about to die, a kinyan is required. Why? We know for a fact the loy by a kinyan. When he's doing it machmas misa, a kinyan is not required. As we explained before, the Chachamim wanted to protect him, lest he come to unnecessary anxiety, lose his mind. So he knows he's not coming back. He's giving it for real. So even though it's just miktsas, but it's for real. So what's the problem with this halacha? Why did Rabbi Abba have a problem with this halacha? Elo, says the Gemara, you're right. This wasn't his problem at all. The reason why he challenged this halacha was because of the following question that he had. Elo Rabbi Abba hochik kasha. This was his kasha. Let's analyze the term that Gniva used. What were the words that he used when he gave away that wine? Look, he didn't say I'm giving him some wine, which would indicate that Rabbi Avina will get some of the wine. No, he didn't say that. Likewise, he didn't say money earned from selling that wine will be his. He didn't say that either. What did he say? I'm giving him 400 zuz from the wine. What kind of lashon is that? How do you get money out of wine? Mechamer kamar. Take money out of the wine? What does that mean? So it's worthless. It's meaningless. That was his kasha. Okay. V'idach. Now Reb Zera, who apparently considered Reb Abba to be entitled to that wine, how did he interpret the lashon? Mechamra, k'dei liyapos his koichei. Truth to be told, that Gniva really meant that we should take some of the wine, 400 zuz worth, and give it to Rabbi Avina. The reason why he used this lashon mechamra, k'dei liyapos his koichei, to enhance his powers, to give him extra benefits. What does that mean? You see, as Rashi explains, if he would have simply given him some wine, So what happens if some of the wine goes sour? It's his loss. He didn't want that to happen. So he didn't say, give him actual wine. On the other hand, had he said, give him some money earned in exchange for selling that wine, there as well, it would have put Rabbi Avinu at a disadvantage. Suppose the orphans sell some of the wine and they lose the money. So they can say, well, it's your money, that's gone. That's why he specified a lashon which is all-encompassing. I want you to get 400 zuz from the total stock of wine, which basically means that it's all there to guarantee the gift. All my wine is committed to the gift of 400 zuz, which you're going to ultimately receive. So it was liyapis his koiche. It was a much better language, much stronger gift. In fact, they sent from Eretz Yisrael that, in fact, when a person speaks in this manner, meichamra, it means exactly as Rav Zera held. He's trying to enhance his power. It's all to his benefit. And of course, the matana is valid. Okay, so bottom line, the Mishnah tells us that when a person is in a precarious state, it's a bekailer, mefarish, it's a b'shayar, even a mesukan. All he needs to say is kiss, forget l'ishti. We understand what he means. We write it and we give it. We had a story regarding Geniva, who was in a similar circumstance, and he promised X amount of wine to Rabbi Avina. The Gemara says he's entitled to the money, although he used a funny language. Get it from the wine. What he meant to say is, all that wine is committed to your gift. And Rabbi Abba actually challenged that lashon. He felt it wasn't precise enough, and therefore he should not be zeicha in the wine. And the chiddush of the Gemara was, this is based on Rav Huna's halacha, that we treat a fellow who is a yoytze b'koila like a shchivmara. In which case we say whatever he says goes, just like by the shchivmara we say divrei shchivmara keksuvin or kemesurin dami. Says the Mishnah, Misha yemushlach labar. The fellow was deep inside a pit, va'amar, and he calls out, kol hashamea es koila yichtav get li'ishtoi. So he's speaking in third person, but he means himself. Whoever can hear my voice, please. My name is such and such from such and such town. Please write a get for my wife. And we come there and he's gone or whatever. They couldn't really identify him. So if they wrote and they gave the get as per his instructions, it's a valid get. Okay, so they can follow his instruction and give it to the Isha, of course, as long as he's alive. Says the Gemara, V'leichosh shemesh sheitu. How do we know he's even a person? Maybe he's a shade, a demon, masquerading as a person. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, they discerned a human form. Even the shadim know how to do that. They masquerade as people. They noticed that he had a shadow, and that's specific to humans. Even shadim have shadows. They noticed a double shadow. So every person has a primary shadow. When the sun is shining, you have a primary shadow, 6 feet tall, according to the size of the person. Then there's like that secondary, weaker shadow emanating from that first shadow. That double shadow is unique to humans, which shadim don't have. And since this husband featured that as well, we assume he's a person. Maybe shadim have that as well. Amar Chanina limadni Yonis, my son Yonis, who was an expert in this field, taught me bavoya islu. Shadim can have shadows, but bavoya they don't have this double secondary shadow. Asks the Gemara, V'dil Mitzari, maybe this voice was actually being impersonated by a tzara, by a co-wife of this Isha, who's the intended recipient of the get, who's just trying to set her up and get rid of her. In a time of danger. Like Rashi says, he's Mesukon Lamas, apparently he's in danger, he's about to die. And it's either now or never. So under these extenuating circumstances, we don't concern ourselves with unlikely chashashos, koisvin v'noisen, af b'shein makirin, we can write and deliver the get, even though we're not 100% sure that's in fact the husband. We assume it is. We hope for the best. Continues the Mishnah. What about habari? A person who's perfectly healthy. She'amar, who calls out, kis v'get li'ishti. Please write a get for my wife. But he doesn't say tenu. Now he has no excuse. He's fully healthy, fully mindful. We assume he's just playing around. He's not serious. So you can't actually write and give the get. But Maas b'bari echad was a story involving a bari, she'amar kis v'get li'ishti, who instructed as such. And then what happened? He went up to the rooftop and he fell down, he died. Amar Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. We have to analyze what happened. If he initiated that fall, that's a raya that he intended this to be a real get. He wanted to give her the get before he knowingly puts an end to his life. Haray's a get. So if in fact the get was written and delivered before this episode, before he killed himself, then we treat it as a valid get. But if it was an accident, an unintended accident, if the wind just blew him off, ain't a get, then we have no reason to believe that he meant it seriously and the get that was given beforehand is not valid. Asks the Gemara, you're bringing a story which contradicts your own halacha. Mishnah began by saying that a bari who speaks in short form, kiss for get, that's not sufficient. He's just playing around. If he meant a proper get, he would have said so. He would have said, write and give it. Right? Now we bring a story. He's up on the roof. And we say that if it was self-initiated, then that's a raya, that he was serious about the get. Masa lister? You're bringing a story. Who brings a story to contradict themselves? The answer is Chasura Mechzer Vachitam. The Mishnah is meant to be learned as follows. Like it's missing some words. An ordinary bari, you have to say it out. Otherwise, we don't take you seriously. But if ultimately something occurs which indicates to us that in fact this was his intention all along, harayz get, then we recalibrate. We rethink the whole story. He meant it seriously. Umasanami, and that's why we bring the story. Bebari, Sha'amar Kis V'Gat Li'ishti, and what happened? V'al Resh Hagag, V'Nafal U'Meis, V'Amar Rama Shimon. Ben Gamliel, we have to take a look at the circumstance. Imei Atzmoi Nafal, if it was self-initiated, harayz get. This is a yichacha. This proves that he meant it seriously. Baruch Dechasa in a get, but if it was just an accident, it's not a get. How Gavra? There was a story about a person. Da'ala Beiknishta walks into the shul. Ashkach Mikri Yenuka Ubrei. Who does he notice? A Rebbe of children and his son, both adults. The Yasfi, who was sitting, V'Yosef Inish Achrina Gabai. There's another person, a third person nearby. Amr Lahu, he turns to the group. Beitrei Minaychu. Do me a favor. Two of you, Nichtavu Gittel Visu, please write a get for my wife. Turns out that the Rebbe, the father, passed away. The question is, Mi mashvu in shibra shlicha b'makim abba. Shall we assume that he was okay with any of the three people writing the get? Even the son could have served as a shliach to write the get, even though he was next to his father. He meant any two out of three. It could be the father and the son. It could be, any. I don't know if the father and the son together can sign the get, but he meant the son as well. Basically, if the father is not available, the son can be a shliach. Or perhaps not. It's not covered that he would include the son and put him on the same playing field as the father. So bottom line is, he met three people, two of which were father and son. He asked them to write a get. Father passed away. Did he mean to include the son or not? Rav Nachman Amar Loi Mashvu in Shibra Shlichav Makam Abba. It's assumed that a person would not equate son with father. And since the father was sitting there, he did not mean that the son should also take part in this process. And therefore, when father passed away, son is not eligible to write the get. Rav Papi Amar, yes, Mashvu in Shibra Shlichav Makam Abba, even in the presence of his father, son can be appointed as a shliach, and therefore in this case, when there's no father, son and stranger can do the get. Amarava, that's the halacha. Hilchasa mashvi inshi bra shlichum akamaba, and then go ahead and write the get. Amar l'shnaim, a fellow turns to two people, Reuben and Shimon, and he says, "Nu get li'ishti. I want you to give a get to my wife." He meant specifically them. I want you personally to write the get, because these aren't three that are like a bezdin. You are my yedim. Please write a get, sign it, give it to her, right? So you can't delegate that job to somebody else. I meant you personally. Oy, lishloisha. Or suppose he approaches three people who are typically like a bezdin, who have the authority to delegate, but he specifies it's personal. Kisvu get utnul ishti. I want you to write the get and give it to my wife. So in both these cases, they have to write and give the get. They can't delegate it to others. But Amar get liishti. But if he approaches three people who have a din of a bezdin, and he says, provide my wife with a get. He didn't say kisvu utnu. He just says tnu. Look after it. Administer the get. Oh, it's a totally different story. In this case, they can turn to other people and task them with a job. Why? Because he appointed them like a bezdin. Divrei Rabbi Meir, it's Rabbi Meir's chiddush. So again, if he personalized it, if he specified, you do it, then only they can do it. So if it's two Eidim in any case can't delegate. So even if he says tenu, he meant you take care of it, write and give it. Likewise, if he turns to three people, write and give the get, he meant them personally. But if he goes to three people, give the get to my wife. That just means, look after it. And they can delegate it to somebody else. In fact, this was a famous halacha. Vazu halacha hela. Rabbi Chanina ish Oinai. Rabbi Chanina from Oinai brought this halacha out of the prison. When Rabbi Akiva was in prison, he went and he found out this halacha from Rabbi Akiva, which was Mekubal ani ba'imr. I have a Kabbalah from my Rabbein. Ba'imr l'shloishlo, when he turns to three people, nuget l'ishti, and he instructs them to provide the get for his wife. It's not so personal, and therefore they can turn around and ask other people to do it. Why? For the same reason we mentioned before, because he made them into a bezdin. And a bezdin can instruct others as well. That is Rabbi Meir's Shita, which was imported by Rabbi Chanina ish Oinai from the Beis HaSurim from Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. Amar Rabbi Yossi, numeinu l'shliach. In fact, when Rabbi Chanina ish Oinai came with the halacha from Rabbi Akiva, we responded to the shliach. We vehemently disagreed. Af anu mekubalan. We too have a tradition, a Kabbalah from our Rebbe. Sha'afilu amar l'bezdin hagdolah b'Yerushalayim. Even if a husband turns to the grand court in Yerushalayim and he says tnu get leishti, he meant them personally. So even if they have trouble writing a get, they have to learn how to do that. Sheyilmadu v'yichtavu v'yidnu. They have to learn how to write the get and do it themselves. For whatever reason, he wants them to do it. Concludes the Mishnah. What about Amar la'asara? Kisvut nu get leishti. He turned to 10 people and he specified, you write, you give. So how many of the 10 have to be involved? A get, only really needs 2 people, 3 people. Echad koisev, shnaim chaismin. So one writes the get and 2 sign. So they all have to look after it. So any one of those 10 are eligible to participate, but you don't actually need them all to sign. However, kulchem kusoivu, if he specifies, I want you all involved, then they all have to be involved. Echad koisev, one will write the text, the kulam chaismin, and all will sign. Lafichach, and therefore, he may say, if one of them passes away before they conclude the get, how is a get batal? It's worthless. Okay, so let's just summarize the Mishnah. If the husband gave personal instructions, then you have to carry out those instructions. You can't delegate it to somebody else. He turned to two people and he says, give my wife a get. He meant write and give. Or he turns to three people and he specifies, write and give. They have to do it themselves. But if he turns to three people and he says, merely, give the get, administer the get, look after the get. Rameir says they can delegate it because a bezdin can do so, unless he specifies otherwise. Rabbi Yossi says, no, even in this case, it's personal. It's for them to do it and nobody else. Omar Yirmeh ba'abba Shochel be'Rav l'Shmuel, Talmidim of Rav, sent the following question to Shmuel. Please, Rabbi, teach us as follows. Amar l'Shnayim. Husband turns to two people. Kisvu utnu get li'ishtei. So he specified. Write the get, deliver the get to my wife. And what happened? V'amru l'sefer v'kasav. They turned to a scribe and they commissioned him with writing the actual text, but they signed. He wrote the actual get, but they signed. V'chasmu hein. Mahu. What would you say in this case? Did they fulfill their mandate or not? They have to do it. But how much do they have to do? Is signing enough? Or do they have to actually write the entire get? Shalach Lu, he responded, Teitze. If she remarried based on this get, she has to leave her husband. But I still have to check with my Rebbeim. I have to go consult people that are bigger and greater than myself. I'm not sure to what extent the husband means when he says right. What does that mean? We have to study this. Is it because the husband merely gave them instructions? Merely means words. He didn't give them an item to pass on, which perhaps they can, delegate to somebody else. He merely gave them verbal instructions. Write my get. And Shmuel had a shaila now. He was unsure whether merely words, can they be handed over to the next shliach? I.e., can they take his instructions and pass it on to the sefer, and it's okay? Or perhaps you can't do that. You got the instructions, you have to carry it out. You can't pass it on to the next person. Was that his question? That can't be the question. Why? V'amar Shmuel, Amar Rabbi. Shmuel quotes Rabbi. Halachak Rabbi Yossi. We follow Rabbi Yossi's shita in our Mishnah. You can never pass on instructions to the next person. Right? Remember the Mishnah? Rabbi Yossi says even the Bezdin Gadol, who are the epitome of authority, when they were asked to write a get, they must do it personally. They can't pass it on and delegate it. So this could never have been his question. He was clear. Shmuel was clear. So what then was his question here regarding the sefer having written the get? What's going on? Shmuel had the following question. I understand you cannot delegate. You cannot pass on instructions. But the question is, what did the husband have in mind when he asked them to write? What does write mean? The entire get from beginning to end they have to do? Or that a sefer can do? He just meant they should sign it. I don't want anybody else involved in signing the get. I want it to be a private affair. You too, I trust. You'll keep it under wraps. You'll be discreet about it. So signing is sufficient. That was his question. What does ksoivu mean? Hai ksoivu, which the husband, tells them. Ksoivu, write my get. Iksav yodan. Is it referring to their signature and that's enough? Iksav get, or the actual text of the get. So unless they do it themselves, it's worthless. That was his question. How far do we go? What did he mean? Says the Gemara, we can conclude this question based on the Mishnah. What does the Mishnah say? He turns to two people. Please deliver a get to my wife. Or he turns to three people. Kisvu get, and he specifies write and deliver. In both cases, the parties themselves have to carry it out. They have to write and deliver. So it's clear that they have to write the entire get, not just their signatures. No, he could become a bailey. This in itself was Shmuel's question. Ksoiva, when the husband asks them to write, Ksav Yadanu, is it just strictly their signatures that he's insisting on? Or Ksav HaGet, or the entire text of the get is what he's referring to. So basically, we have no conclusion based on the Mishnah. We're not sure what the Mishnah itself means. Signatures or the Ksav HaGet? Well, answers the Gemara, Pshita the Ksav HaGetu. It's clear from the next part of the Mishnah that we're speaking about the actual text of the get, not just the signatures. Why? The Tani Seifa. Look at the next part of the Mishnah. Amar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says, "No meni l'shliach." We turn to the shliach who came from Rabbi Akiva in prison. Af anu b'Kabbalah. We have this Kabbalah as well, which contradicts your Kabbalah. That it's all personal. Shafilu Amar l'Bezdin HaGodesh Yerushalayim. Even if the husband asked the Grand Bezdin Yerushalayim tnu get li'ishti, to issue a get to his wife, they can't delegate the job. Shiyilmadu. If they need to study, if they need to practice, they have to do that. They have to learn how to write and give it to her personally. Now, what don't they know how to do that they have to learn? Signatures. Who doesn't know how to sign their names? If we're speaking about actually writing the entire ksav of the get, sharper. That explains why perhaps the Bezdin, who are not proficient at scribery, perhaps they have to study and practice it in order to do it. That would make sense. Eli Amris Ksavya, I don't know, but if we're speaking merely about just signing your name, who does not sign their names? Can you find the Bezdin in the world that doesn't have to sign their names? Says the Gemara, yeah, sometimes, yeah, yes. You can have a fresh Bezdin right out of Beis Medrash, not accustomed to signing documents, so perhaps that's what the Mishnah is referring to. Okay. So bottom line is we have no conclusion. To what extent do the Eidim have to be careful in terms of personally writing the get? Is it the actual text that they have to write or just the signatures? The Gemara now will make another attempt at figuring this out. Now, if we shall suggest that Ksoivu is simply the signatures and no more, Hoksav get kasher, but the actual text of the get can be written by anybody. V'amar Shmuel, Amar Rebbe, halach Rabbi Yossi. But didn't Shmuel just tell us the name of Rebbe? We pass like Rabbi Yossi, the Amar Mili loy mimser l'shliach, that words can never be handed over to the next shliach. So basically, the question is when the husband asks, write a get for me, he's instructing this person. How can the person turn around and give it to the sefer to do? These are merely words, verbal instructions. You can't pass that on. Answers the Gemara, you know how it could work? Amri, so they responded, it can work. Even if we shall say that husband's kseiva, when husband instructs, write my get, ksav yadanu, it's merely the signatures that he's being concerned about, but not the ksav get. Ksav get, when it comes to the actual text of the get, nasa, we treat it as though he told them, imru, you know what, pass it on. I'm okay with you asking the sefer to do it. Rabbi Yossi would agree if your husband specifies, you know what, please tell, such and such sefer to write it. Of course it works. And that's what he would mean. If in fact we conclude that, his intention was merely the signatures. In terms of the get itself, I'm okay with you asking the sefer to do it. And Rabbi Yossi agrees that if he specifies, or we assume that was clearly his intention, it's as though he's specifying. And once that happens, there's no issue of mili lemimsron l'shliach. That's only an issue when I asked you to do something and you pass it on to the next person. But if I specifically specify, I tell you, please tell the sefer, that's okay. And if that's what we assume he meant, then let's just go with that. So in terms of their signatures, that's personal. I wanted you to do it. But in terms of the ksav haget, I'm not insisting that you do it personally. I'm okay with you asking somebody else. Says the Gemara, is that true that Rabbi Yossi would agree But when the husband says, Imru, please instruct that person, he agrees that it works. V'atanan, we have a Mishnah later on. Ksav Sefer Ve'ed Kasha. So, Mishnah speaks about a get which features the handwriting of the Sefer, Kasav Sefer Ve'ed, with another witness. It's okay, you can use the get. But Rabbi Yirmiyah interprets the Mishnah to mean as follows: Chasam Sefer Shaninu, that we have a get written by a Sefer and signed by two Eidim, one of which is a Sefer, the same fellow who wrote the get, and next to him we have another Eid. And the Mishnah says the get is valid. Now, there's always a concern that perhaps the Sefer was not meant to sign the get. The husband asked two other Eidim to sign, but once he started writing it, they felt bad. They didn't want to offend him. They didn't want to lock him out of the get. So they gave him the honor of actually participating in these signatures as well and putting his signature there. Right? There's always that chashash. So why are we not choshesh? That's what happened. V'amar Chizda. You know why? Masnisin man Rabbi Yesi. This Mishnah, which allows a Sefer to sign, is Rabbi Yesi's shita. The Amar Mili Lo Mimser L'Shliach, who says that you can never delegate verbal instructions. Therefore, nobody would sign a get unless he personally was instructed by the husband. So we're not chayshish that the Sefer just went and wrote the shtar and then signed his name, because he wouldn't do so unless he's personally instructed. They cannot authorize him to do so. The Eidim cannot authorize the Sefer to do so. So we assume the Sefer's name is there. Apparently he was personally instructed to do so by the husband. That's all good and well. If we learn that according to Rabbi Yesi, you can never delegate personal verbal instructions. So we assume it didn't happen here as well. But if there's one case, which case? The Imru case, where we do allow delegation of verbal instructions. Imru means when the husband specifically told the Eidim, please, I don't mind if you pass this on to the next person. So if there is such an option, if such a path exists, which basically allows a total stranger who never got personal instructions from the husband to actually participate in the get, go back to square one. So who says it didn't happen here? Maybe they were embarrassed, they felt bad, they didn't want to offend the Sefer, who's so heavily invested in the shtar, and they allowed him to sign. By telling him, look, it's okay, yeah, the husband lets us involve you in the chasimis. This can really create trouble. Because perhaps what happened was, he told Reuben and Shimon, please go ahead and tell a Sefer to write the get, but write the get, not sign. And go find another two people and have them sign the shtar. That was his intent, that was his plan. And they felt bad to embarrass the Sefer. What did they do? They took one of those Eidim and paired him together with the Sefer, who also signed the get. The husband never fathomed, never intended that the Sefer should actually sign his name in the shtar. That's a strong kasha. How can we know what happened? So if, according to Rabbi Yesi, there is never a way that somebody would sign without receiving personal instructions from the husband, and there's no chashash that the Sefer did that. But if you're telling me there is an option, there is a case, the Imru case, that other people can participate in the chasimos. So perhaps that's what happened here. They were meant to tell other people, and instead they felt bad for the Sefer, and they got him involved. And that makes the get possible. Answers the Gemara, oh, that's an unlikely scenario. Kivan da Marmar, the Gemara tells us elsewhere, Kashav le'tasakain, be Israel, that this get, which features a chasima of the sefer, although it's technically valid, but you're not meant to do so, and Taisus explains, we're concerned that perhaps the Isha will hire false witnesses, whatever. So in any case, we don't do this. So it's not a likely case, not a common scenario. We're not chayshish for it. Answers the Gemara, V'leichosh dilma amalu lebeitrei. But perhaps let's be concerned about the next case. Husband turns to Reuven and Shimon, and he says, Imru lo sefer v'yichtav, please ask the sefer to write the get. V'atem chasayim, you personally sign. Instead of asking others to sign, as in the previous case, you personally sign. That's really what happened. And what actually was carried out turned out to be different than what the husband had in mind. And these two Edom were concerned about the sefer's feelings, Mishum Kesufa the sefer, in order to avoid offending the sefer. What do? They invited him to sign the shtar. They invited the sefer to sign together with one of them, and this is in contrast to the husband's instructions. So here as well we have a chashash that we're going to mistakenly validate a get which is not really valid. And again, this is based on the same kasha. If Imru works, if there is a way that the husband can ask people to instruct other people to be involved, then you're running into all kinds of confusions. Amri, so the Gemara responds, Hanami kasha le'sasa, who this example, this case as well, where he tells to Aiden to have the sefer write and they personally should sign, it's also something we don't do. So it's not a likely scenario, we're not concerned. Asks the Gemara, it works according to the Shita, the kasha le'sasa, that it's, although it's kasha, you're not meant to do it, there's no concern. Elamandam kasha le'sasa, we're going to have this later on in the Gemara. But according to the Shita, that we are okay with this type of get. So this is really a dangerous situation, Michael Meimar, that can really cause all kinds of confusions. Says the Gemara, you're right. El Rabbi Yosi Tarti Amar. According to Shittas Rabbi Yosi, all types of delegations, all types of passing on instructions are possible. When a husband asks people to do something, they personally must do it. They can't pass it on to somebody else. Even if the husband says Imru, he clearly asks them to go pass it on to somebody else. It doesn't work. Mili loy mimseron l'shliach. You never pass on verbal instructions. So before we continue, having said that, we have no more problems. Because you'll never run into a situation where a sefer puts his name on there and it's not authorized, because they're never allowed to ask other people to be involved. Right? So whatever's on the shtar, we assume, was as per the husband's direct instructions. Okay, that answers that question. Getting back to our sugya. Shmuel responded with an uncertainty. Right? They asked the Shmuel, what happens to a husband who personally instructed the fellows to write the get? Can they have a sefer write it and they sign it? To what extent is the husband being particular? Kseivu means signatures or the entire get? Shmuel wasn't sure, which would indicate that there is a reason to be machshir a get written by a sefer, even though the husband asked these two Aiden to do it. Apparently because Imru works, because we treat it as though he said Imru. I'm only insisting on you signing, but in terms of the actual shtar, the actual text of the get, you can have the sefer, right? I'm okay with that. Imru, go tell the sefer, go instruct the sefer. That's okay, that's what I had in mind. That was Shmuel's shaila. So it's based on the premise that Imru works. Although Shmuel himself clearly paskin in the name of Rebbe, like Rabbi Yosi in the Mishnah, that typically there's no delegation of responsibilities. Even when you go to the Bez Nagadol, you ask them to craft the get, put it together, they have to do it personally. They can't pass it on to the next person. So how do these two things jive? Says the Gemara Shmuel, regarding Shita Shmuel, he took a split approach. On the one hand, in terms of when you instruct the Bezna Gadol, when you ask them to do it personally, in that regard he holds like Rabbi Yesi, it's a personal instruct. You can't pass it on. But on the other hand, if husband specifies, here, please ask such and such to take care of the get, that's okay. Imru works. And likewise, an implied imru works as well, which is, if all he meant was sign the get, but in terms of writing, I'm okay with you having a sefer do it, that's like imru. It's an implied imru. So either an explicit imru or an implied imru, according to Shmuel, would work. So, on the one hand, he goes with Rabbi Yesi. Typically, we don't delegate verbal responsibilities unless husband specifies as such, and he's okay with it. Okay, so we had 4 Mishnahs. The first, we discussed the heter of giving a get even when husband did not specify tnu, because he wasn't up to it, he was in sakana, etc. We treated it as though he said tnu. We had the story with Gniva, and Ravina was entitled to the wine. He was a matzava machmas misa. So even though it was a kinyan, it was a matana b'miktas, you don't need a kinyan. We treated it as a done deal. And even though he was a little bit ambiguous in terms of how to give him the stuff, mechamra, he meant liyapo, he says kaychay. A fellow calls out from a bar, please give a get to my wife. We do so. We're speaking that we notice that he's a person, he has a double shadow. We're not concerned about a tzara. A healthy man who says give a get without concluding anything about delivering the get, well, it's just a joke, unless it turns out that the soif was mechiach, that he meant it seriously. We have a story with the father, the son, and the stranger. The Gemara concludes that everybody's included in the mandate and can write the get. Then we have the next Mishnah, the next sugya, which basically turns out like this. If a husband issues personal instructions, then they have to do it themselves. If he was addressing a threesome, or certainly an official bezdin, asking them to look after the get, we have a machlekes. According to Rabbi Meir, they can turn around and ask others to do it. A bezdin has that authority. According to Rabbi Yossi, no, it's all personal, and even if they have to go learn how to sign their names, they have to do so. Then we had a question in terms of, how far did what did he mean? He meant, the husband meant sign personally, or did he even mean that you have to actually write the entire get, and you cannot ask a sefer to do so? So Shmuel was asked the question, and he was not sure. The Gemara concluded that the svara to say that you can ask a sefer is because, at least according to Shmuel, not like Rabbi Yossi, according to Shmuel himself, we assume on this side, we assume that the husband was not particular about who's going to author the actual get, and if so, it's sufficient that they actually sign it, and they can turn around and ask the sefer to write it, because it's as though he asked them to do so. And imru, or imru l'sefer b'yichtav, works. All the best to you and hatzlacha Rabbah.